we do a fieldwork school, right? And we collect stories of people. And the reason we started doing this is very low impact. It's not what Marquette does. It's not what many other departments do. Simply because we realized that oftentimes universities come in to do research, and then the people in the neighborhood becomes research subjects. We were not interested in that. We wanted to tell the stories. We wanted to use our facilities to be able to tell the stories of people, so that change the narrative that goes on with the neighborhoods. I mean, it was very low bar, right? But this year we wanted to, because we were going to have an exhibit which got canceled, and the exhibit was supposed to have a lot more things. We decided to do this kind of conversation starter kits, and we took all the stories that we had and we put them in zines. Now, the question that we have for you is it even worth it? Is it the worth the time of people and energy? And also, if not, how do you think we should address this issue? We are, after all, architects and historians, so we're not engineers, you know? So, so that's the first question. Very generally, what do you think of the project? And very frankly, what do you think about it and problems and issues?
Are you asking me about the zines or the
No,
whole
just the
project?
project itself. What happened this August? Like the food, the zines, and the all that stuff.
Well, the best part of the project, I'll start with that, was the meetings. The one that I did make it to, I'm really disappointed that I wasn't able to make it to more, because I really enjoyed the one meeting that I made it to be able to hear and share experiences and information was very encouraging. The vegetables, they were a big help during the summer, especially during this time where people are not coming out as much as they wanted to be able to talk together, gather in places in the community, to be able to go door to family and talk to them about some of the stuff that was going on. The zines came in real handy with that, because a lot of the information, um, some things we knew but have forgotten, and was a good reminder about the city, because we have, as a community, concerns if our community is being overlooked. And what do we do? I heard that question a lot this summer, talking to my neighbors. What do we do next? Is it ever going to get any better? Does anybody really care? And they feel like we. Some of them felt like their hands are tied. No matter what they do, there's like a ceiling for the Black community. Even when you're trying to do your best and get to your greatest point, you can't get past that ceiling that has been placed in our community, as if to say, this is as far as you go. So the information with the zines, they were encouraging, um, supportive. That was the best thing that I liked about them. You felt like there was some support out there.
And were there things that you felt was not working, you wish you would have been different, or wish just didn't do that?
Um, do different or didn't do. Um, I don't know. I was generally concerned about the package of foods, because and that tied into the pandemic and people losing their jobs and not being able to feed their families. And I felt like, uh, there are community organizations. I'll give you like the NID, where homeowners uh, pay on their taxes every year. They give money. That a community organization like that should have backed you guys in that project to help to get more food to the families. because that's what they're there for. And I just felt like you guys didn't have enough support in our community as well.
Yeah, and probably that's also our fault. We didn't know who to ask, you know? We only know, see, this is the problem that I have had in the way I structure things. I went with individuals because somehow I don't work with institutions. They have their own thing, right? They just do their thing.
Yes.
Individuals do incredible work and they never get heard.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to these kind of projects, you need the institutions because they
Right.
have the, you know, so that's something that I learned this time. And yeah, so that's true. So tell me something, you basically deliver the stuff only to your neighborhood, to the block, right?
Right.
And you have talked a lot about your block because in your original interviews with us, you have talked about your block, the kids in the block, people, different kinds of people in the block, about you sitting in the porch in the block. So just as an overview, tell us a little bit more about the block now, as against when we interviewed, you won't remember what you said, but we interviewed in 2015 and or 16, 15 or 16, 15,
Uh,
15. Has the block changed?
no.
Okay. So what remains the same? What is it? Tell me.
Well, there's still not a lot of interaction. I mean, there's a thing that really hinders my community, and this is what I experience. That we've been taught to distrust each other,
Right.
and in that, if you see so and so coming to your door, the first thing you're thinking is a negative. Why are they coming to bother me? Kind of thing. And that is a hindrance and something that's hard to get past as long as I've been working in this community, and I've been here over 25 years, and everybody knows me because I'm real active, but they still don't trust me. The few don't. The families that I work with through this program, um, we did develop a trust relationship through the project, though. Um, that was good. And but for the block, and the thing about the homeowners are stable, but we have a lot of transient families who rent and they stay 6 months to a year and then they're gone, and another family comes in. There's a house right across the street from me. It's a duplex, and nobody ever stays in that place more than a year or a year and a half. And so because we have a lot of that, it's almost like me trying to start all over with, let's say, if we have two blocks with a whole nother block. One block is stable homeowners, but then further down by the garden, you have a lot of renters, and it's always new people.
And then absentee landlords then, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, that's
And
the problem. It's not just like Washington Park. It happens in Centerpiece, Sherman Park. It happens like all over the place. Is these absentee landlords and these tenants who keep in and out.
right,
What do
yeah,
you
and
do? What can we do to help?
well, it's hard to say. I mean, how do you address that? I know working with United Methodist, we had the steering committee had a accountability for absentee landlords. That was a good program, and I would like to see that program um, re, become active again, because we would contact the absentee landlords and tell them about nuisances and how they're not maintaining their properties, and things like that. We could be active with them, because it's hard to develop a relationship with the renters because they're not there very long, but the landlord is always there. And that's one of the things I don't get is why the landlords in our community won't come and maintain a proper block, a proper, uh, you know, maintain their homes and the land. They won't cut the grass. They won't, you know, check on it. You never see them. I've been talking to Lamont and trying to figure out how to find addresses that I'm concerned about in my blocks, and get in contact with the landlords. So, like I said, that's something I want to see active again.
So the accountability for absentee landlords, did they have a landlord list of projects they should be doing, or responsibility list? Was there something that you could give to the landlord and say, these are things you might want to do? Do they have something?
Yes, yes.
They did.
Yeah, we surveyed the neighborhoods, put the information together, what the house looks like, if we need to contact the landlord. Then they would contact the landlord and give them, you know, the grievances that the community had against the property and their tenants. And also, we had a city connection that held the landlords accountable to maintain their properties properly.
And
But
you said something.
I don't know what happened to that.
And you said something before that there were kids in your neighborhood, and the kids were fun, and they would come to your garden, and you let them pick up stuff and eat them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That I was just thinking. Yeah, there. In the beginning, there are a lot of kids who went to our local school and walked the neighborhood. I think they're the ones that I work with mostly have grown up, but there's still quite a few. But the kids that I work with, the way that I did it is that I went door to door, talking to the parents to see if the kids could come and work with me during the summer, helping to maintain the gardens. It was the two gardens, one on 35th, the Bethune Garden and the Walnut Hill Garden, and then also to be able to clean up the neighborhood. And that to be honest with you, the homeowners look forward to that every year for the kids to come out, help and maintain. And that did bring a lot of attention, because it's encouraging when you see children working and not just roaming the streets all summer, or doing something bad. And two, with that gives the kids ownership of the neighborhood and the community that they live in, and they take care of it. And also to do a positive and learn positively from the experience. And two, also, they were able to have the vegetables that they grew. They could pick them, take them home to their parents. Several times we would eat them because we have like a little pocket park in our garden. They learned a lot. We work with Groundwork, Milwaukee, and they would donate seeds. And they came out and taught the kids about compost. They really enjoyed that. They really did. This
So
year didn't happen.
that just stopped this year?
Pardon me?
That just didn't happen this year at all.
It didn't happen this year at all for two reasons. I filed for a grant through the NID program. They denied it. The other the other thing was because of the coronavirus. The parents weren't quite sure if that was something that the kids should do. And it was, in June, we weren't quite where we are now with a better understanding of the virus, where maybe, because I make face masks, make sure that the kids have face masks and just social distance, and we could still have gotten a job done.
So maybe that was a missed opportunity for us. We should have probably focused on the kids when we did the zines, and would it have worked?
I think it would. I think the zines would have been really good for the kids, because at some point during the day, we do sit down and talk about things, by way of them becoming more mature in life, and the importance of such certain things, because that's a real important part of the program, that they understand things a little better, like job opportunities, why we eat healthy, why we work in our community, what the city of Milwaukee is all about, that kind of stuff.
What's your program called?
It's um, Walnut Hill Community Teen Green,
Community.
because it's a green team, but they're teenagers.
Oh, I see. Okay. Um, and do you meet them during fall?
Oh yeah, the program will go all the way up until we try to structure the program up until they go back to school, because at the end we give them a gift card so that they can go and buy school supplies, backpacks, whatever they may need to be to some of the things that they might need to get back to school.
Mhm. So
So
I
that's
was,
why the grant money, that's one of the things, so that we can give the kids a stipend at the end of the program.
I see. So maybe, okay, so you're giving me some ideas. If we do it another summer, then maybe we should talk to you beforehand and figure out what the kids would need. I mean, it's not so much because I guess what happened is, I have to tell you, groundwork came to our rescue.
They do,
Um,
don't they?
yes. That's when you might have noticed in the second week, the amount of food went up.
Okay.
We asked them for help. We asked them for only 12 help, and they gave us so much food that we could actually put it in every boxes.
Hmm.
And so that, again, another thing we learned, and thankfully Groundworks was there, and they were just immediately, they were like, oh yeah, sure.
Yes. They're very big help, very big help. I've been working with them for the last 4 years, and they just helped me to get a water structure in our garden. They did come out this summer because they knew that we didn't have the kids this year, and they brought their own team and did a wonderful job in the garden. Wonderful job. And they helped us clean up the neighborhood.
So is your garden working again? I mean, the last time we heard, you were really depressed about your garden.
No, it was working this year. And like I said, with groundwork help, we got it all weeded this year, trimmed up, and we have 5 gardeners in there. It's just that uh, one of the gardens, I don't know, they kind of came in on their own and started and then put a fence up. I'm not sure who that is. I put up a call list, but I haven't heard from that gardener yet. But the other gardeners say he's not a very nice man. So I would really like to meet him to get some better understanding.
Yeah. You just came and started gardening in your patch. Nice.
Right. And I didn't spend as much time in the garden this year as I would with the kids. We would be there every day.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah. So the zines, is there any zines you would think should have been added? Because I'm thinking of the zines now, because that at this point, because I'm not teaching, I have 4 students who'll be working with me in fall. 2 of them will be working on food, and 2 of them will be working on housing issues. And the reason that this happened like this is, you remember those conversations we had? So the
Mhm.
conversation with Lamont and Rob Smith about housing, and 2 people from Newark about housing, they really, and Elizabeth Pearson, she's the rental person, the renter's aid lawyer. They were talking about really important issues, and we thought that the kind of stuff that Newark was doing, and actually Newark is like much more together in the sense that they are really doing a lot of stuff, and we were too, but we sometimes we don't talk to each other, like one community doesn't talk to another one.
Mhm.
So we thought we'll take some of those issues that they brought up, and one of those things was the how to, like, what do you do with rental aid, what do you do when you need money to update your house, that kind of stuff. And to do more zines, because those will be informative zines and useful to people. So I do want to focus a little bit on the zines. You mentioned here that very few people responded, but there were some conversations you had about the zines, and then you listed the zines, which are good. You said something about the history zines, the zines which were about people in history was interesting to you. I'm trying to think, is there any zine that stands out in your mind as something we should do more of? Just offhand, you don't have to look at the zines, just anything that you remember.
Well, no, they were really good. I mean, I think the one thing that I did look more for was the zines that may have talked about the Washington Park area more. Um, and some of the community organizations that worked in the area before you guys started the project. Who was here? Where did the help come before? Because when we talked about feeling like our hands are tied and that there's no help or support out there, I think being able to reach back and see that there will, there's always been help. We just may not have known it.
And those are things, I guess you will remember some of them.
I remember some of them, yes. Can't quite remember their names. But yeah, there was quite there was one organization that I worked with, and they did a lot for the community. I don't know what happened to them, but the other thing is because they shut down Westside Academy 2, and now we only have Westside Academy 1. The residents don't know exactly what's going on with the education in our community. Where are the kids? Why are they shutting down our schools? So those kind of things too. How do we connect the community to the community schools? Because a lot of our kids are bus stand, and one of the ladies that lives down the street, that was one of the things she asked. She said, "Did all of our kids grow up? Where are they?" I mean, I don't know. And me working with the children in the neighborhood, helps to answer that question. And sometimes the kids may not be in that block, because most of the kids that I worked with in Walnut Hill area were across from Lisbon. And this area over on the north side of Lisbon didn't have as many children. But and so the kids don't always come across the street. They kind of tend to stay in their area, which, I don't know. If it's a good thing or not, because there's a disconnect, and I'm really that's one of the biggest disappointments for this year, that we didn't have a connection.
But you have the Black Cowboys Association right next door, and the kids come there, don't they?
They used to.
Oh, they stopped?
Yes. However, this year was the first year since the first time I talked to Ever, that he did bring one horse out this summer. He did ride a horse through the neighborhood, which it was very, the kids were excited. That did bring the children out. We saw more kids than we seen in a long time. But I talked to him early part of this year, let's see, in June, when I thought I was going to be able to start the program up, if he would open the museum again so that the kids could visit and learn some history. And he said, "Oh, it's a mess in there." I said, "Well, I can clean it up and we can get the kids in." And he said, "Okay, well, let's talk about it." And so he's willing. And there's a vast information in there that the kids would love to learn and need to know.
So he's just, what is he? He's tired. He's not well. He's older. Why is he not doing that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. He is older, but he's still welding. And I didn't ask him what the biggest issue was, why we don't see him do that anymore. But maybe I'll go talk to him, because since he bought out one horse, maybe he's ready to come back and get involved in the community again.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a question of having human power, like he doesn't have manpower to do that, you know, I could work around my students during fall when I have a class, not this year, but next year, where we could work together with him and do stuff. So, you know,
Yeah,
sometimes it's just labor he needs, you know, like he's alone.
absolutely. Yeah.
We were also just so since you bring this up, I just wanted to give you a heads up on another project that we have been working on as a continuation of this. We're thinking of creating a community archive, which is basically a historical documentation of all the community held by the community and organized. And basically, UWM archives will help them set it up, but it'll be done by people in the community. It'll be, I don't know, the gatekeepers will be people in the community, and the archive will consist of all kinds of things from people's diaries and histories and stories to objects, gardening equipment, something that someone's grandmother had given. We'll just take photographs of them and create a online thing or a physical one. We don't really know yet. But since you mentioned the Cowboys Association, I was, wow, they have that space. It's kind of like a museum.
Yeah.
You know, my biggest problem is I'm an outsider. So for me to just walk in, waltz in and tell people, oh, let's just do this is difficult. But that's something that we are thinking of, because I think one of the problems with the neighborhood, you pointed it out just now, is that local history, people are not aware of it. So they're not proud of it. When you're not proud of your own local history, then you're not proud of the city or anything for that matter.
Right. Right.
That's one of the lessons that we think, and maybe that's something we could talk about as we proceed in this more. And that's the last thing that I wanted to ask you. And Chelsea, have I missed anything? I'm sorry, I was so into this conversation, I forgot.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to that program on renters' rights that you described. What it was through a hospital, or
No, it was through the Washington Park Partners. It was the resident led or committees, and they fell up under the Washington Park Partner. And there was the steering committee, the housing committee, parks committee, several committees, which we still have the steering committee, but there's only two of us. There's the chair and the co-chair. And right now the subcommittees are being headed under us and trying to do things. But housing was in charge of that one. And residents and business owners and some of the city employees work together to get those lists and to hold the landlords accountable.
so you would write to them or call them, or would they show up at the meetings?
We would invite them to the meetings. We would contact them by mail and phone several ways to make sure. I mean, because the other thing is the business owners, like every corner had a liquor store, and we didn't want all those liquor stores, so we would contact the business owners or go down to City Hall and speak on when they were going to get their licenses and let them know the residents don't want a liquor store, or go and talk to them about the landlords. We want this landlord to be held accountable to make sure that the property is maintained, and that those renters are, safe and keeping our neighborhood safe. So yeah, it was a big project, but it was doable, and Lamont knows about it. Lamont is the head of the housing committee on the Washington Park Partners.
I was just trying to think if what kind of information from that kind of outreach would be translatable into zine format. I was wondering if there were a lot of the same kind of complaints about landlords, but it sounds like it's a larger organizing project. And
It is, but for me as a resident, as much as I've worked with them, I would like the information myself. Where do I go to find the landlord information? What site do I need to go on? What's the process? Because residents don't know the process of how to hold their landlords accountable. They just kind of live like that. So even me, myself, I'm not sure. And I want to be able to hold a landlord accountable in my community for better housing and property upkeep. And so a pamphlet or a zine like that with the information on how to do that, that would be great.
Thank you. And yeah, that sounds like an incredible program. I'm thinking about how you talked about where are the kids? Did they grow up? Where are they going to school? And also thinking about the history, local history, like what you two were talking about with the Black Cowboys, about how knowing some of your local history, for me as a renter, just knowing a little bit of the history of River West kind of makes me feel a little more rooted here, makes me want to rent here longer. Maybe I have moved from house to house, but I've stayed within the neighborhood, and I pick up trash when I walk my dog. So knowing that local history, I think it not only helps homeowners, it also helps renters kind of stay a little more rooted. And I wonder, maybe this is a long-term question, but what kind of local history stories would you want to incorporate into maybe what's taught in school? What would you teach kids about local history?
That's a good question. Like the Urban Ecology Center, that used to be the zoo. Well, kids don't know that. Like the Black Cowboys, how long they've been there, what they stand for. Other organizations that represent the community, and how they represented the community. And then also information about like what we just talked about. How do you represent your community? Where do you go if you need to find out this kind of information, or there's a real issue that you have in the community that you want it to be addressed by the level of the city, holding your landlord accountable to a better way.
That's a good idea, because I'll be talking to, when we did our zines, it wasn't just UWM. There was a class from MyAd which also went in and did. So all those zines which are about Amaranth or ONG or Victory Gardens, those were institution zines were done by MyAd people. And they're going to have this class again next semester. So I'm going to be talking to her to say, like, maybe what we could do is focus in on Washington Park and just kind of asking Munir, people who've been around for a while, just like if they remember of these things and do some and do a fun zine. I mean, just to know their own history kind of stuff. This is a great idea, which I think we're going to follow up on. So one last thing that I wanted to do, ask about the conversations, which you said you liked. And, so one of the, I want to get this, you see if you agree. As you were mentioning these things, like you said, that there was one person you had connections with the food and so on. And we were talking to Tremolo Robinson. She lives on 40th Street, 40th and Center.
Okay.
And she said she made connection with one person, and she said something really incredible. She said, even if I make that strong connection with one person, I probably won't make the connection with everyone in my street, but I make it with one, and that's a big improvement. And it's hard to have that kind of positive thing, but but you also said that just now. You said that you met one person you had some conversation with, and so I'm just wondering, as we were thinking about it, these conversations are important. For instance, something happening in your block, what you do, 2 blocks away, someone who is like you wants to start thing but doesn't know anything. So in other words, like knowledge of what you do could help that person. So we started doing these kind of across. That's one of the reasons Washington Park and Sherman Park were there together in the zines. Originally, we were going to have this big exhibition in Washington Park Partners, UCMS downstairs. And then we were going to have these walks, Jane's walks, where we would take Washington Park people into the Centerpiece neighborhood, which is basically 38. It's safe and sound zone. You work with safe and sound, so you know Sherry.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know Sherry Fuqua.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So that's Sherry's Road. So we were going to just like take your guys and go to Sherry's Road, take Camille and Sherry and bring them here so that that discussion starts. Because I feel like that's important. And that ballooned into let's talk to people in Newark too. Who knows? Maybe Camille will find someone. Actually, Camille is. On Friday, she's online working with Anthony and talking about Newark and Newark and Milwaukee's connections in terms of policy. So that was our hope, that we would just like have these conversations, because I also was very, very taken by on the conversation we had with you, where in the first time we were talking with you and you were like, you know, there's nothing happening. And that's important for all of us, because the world that you live in is also the world that I live in. And so I wanted to ask you, do you feel that these conversations have any future? Is there anything we should do with these kind of conversations? Do you think we shouldn't do it with Newark? We should just do it with the next block? These kind of bringing leaders together, is it something worth it? Or is it not going to work unless we have, I don't know. What do you think?
I think it's always good when you have those people who have, you know, like us, who want to do something for our communities, to come together. And it's very supportive when we could talk about our issues, hear someone else's issues, get some information and more resources, you know, to be, you know, we need more resources in our neighborhoods. I mean, everybody's saying, take the census, make sure you do the census, and people are struggling with the census because, again, I do it and then nothing changes. So what's the point? I mean, we're at a point where we're looking drastically for change. And those of us who have stepped into the role of the leaders in the community, we're looking for change. We're looking for how can we help the community get the change that they're looking for. I mean, because I used to say it, I left working with the community for almost 5 years because I felt like all we were doing was meeting. I didn't see any changes. I mean, I'm at the table, we're coming up with these good things, and then nothing happens, nothing changes. And so, I mean, I'm at a point, and I believe the community is at a point where we're looking for a real change to better our communities. Where is that coming from? And I these projects, I believe, and I know that they can make a difference. But something bigger, we need a change. And where do we start? I mean, we've been at this level for so long, it's getting to be irritating.
And
So yeah, I think to bring like those of us who, Sherry and me and, you know, the guys that were at the meeting, together to talk about the change that we're looking for in our communities. Where are the resources? What are the laws? How can we make a substantial change in systemic racism that keeps us bound, like I said, under the ceiling all the time? What do we need to do to get further than just a meeting? How do we really make a change? That's what we're looking for.
And is that money, politics? What is it? So it's mostly resources, right?
Resources, politics, money, absolutely. It entails all of that. I mean, what do we do? There's you know, how do we, I mean, I'm a blessed woman. I've got property. I've, you know, worked a good job. I mean, but how do I help somebody else get that? in my community. There's so much potential, but there's, this, oh, ain't nothing gonna change, hopelessness that keeps them not caring. And, you can ride through this neighborhood and see all the litter, and you know why? Because that's the disrespect that they have for the city. And so they have no respect for anything. No, the neighborhood they live in, they don't care. But that's how it's sad that, they have to show their disrespect in that manner because they feel like they have no power.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens, right? When you don't have power, you just destroy yourself.
You just, yes,
Well,
and everything around you.
yeah. Because also Miss Cox, Rosalind, I haven't heard. I hope she's okay because she wasn't. I didn't hear her in the summer. And so the thing is, there are those 5 or 6 people who always ends up in these meetings, and they try, and then they try again, and they keep trying. So we know all of those, many of those people, right? I mean, Miss Cox and Munir and all these people, and so Lamont. But anyway, so one idiotic question that I have for you. Did you make anything nice with the food? Anything new? With the herbs, did you do anything?
The herbs, I still have the herbs.
Are they drying?
Yes, yes. And the garlic, I love garlic. Fresh garlic is nothing like it. The squash, that's always a given, and the tomatoes are awesome. So I mean, those are during the summer, because of the bags, there were a lot of things I didn't have to go to the store and buy. But the other part was, you thought this came straight from the garden. There's like no preservatives on it. It's fresh, very fresh. And then that, all of us were happy. Yeah. So because it kind of dwindled down to 3 families in the neighborhood that got the bags on a daily basis. And at the end, one of the ladies gave me a hug. She said, "Thank you. You have no idea how much this helped during the summer." And I said, "Yeah, I do." And I thanked her for being a part of it because she was the one that had most to say and was more involved. But the other lady, she was more into giving out recipes and what she did with her vegetables, which was fun too.
So tell us more
Because
about the recipes. What did you learn? Tell us the recipes, because I'll cook tomorrow then.
Well, eggplant was one of the things that kind of, we all tried different things with the eggplant, but decided eggplant is not one of the things we really like. But with the squash, I did a stir fry with honey, and I kind of sweetened it up. And the lady across the street, she baked hers, and it was more garlicky, which was really good. And we just kind of swapped things out and talked about what we did with our vegetables. I didn't get pictures. I totally forgot.
That's fine.
But yeah, but that was the fun part too. What did you do with your vegetables this week, and how did you cook it and things like that? So that was real fun. Yeah.
And when you were talking about that, did you slip in, let's organize and make a better garden? Or no, you just talked about food?
Yeah, I did. I did because it's an opportunity, right? To grow vegetables. So, but the only thing is that they're homeowners. They were all home. They were 3 homeowners, and they have their own backyard where they're decide I can do it in my backyard and not in the community garden, which I don't know why people don't want to. They prefer, I guess, because it's just there. You can go right out to your backyard instead of walking down the street to the community garden. Oh, and the prostitution is another thing that keeps them out of the community garden, because our community garden is beautiful, especially after Groundworks came out and helped us clear it. And so the prostitutes, and we have 2 benches that it's in the pocket park in the back of our garden that Habitat donated years ago. And because it's so beautiful, they spend a lot of time there in the gardens at night. And so sometimes people are just afraid of what they may walk up on, or, whose garden is it really ours or is it theirs, kind of thing. So,
In that little,
and if we could, yeah,
in
if we could address that prostitution issue, that would be, that would be the best, because it's starting to really get out of control.
well, that's a small neighborhood street. You have sex workers in that street too?
Oh
Wow.
my gosh, so many. It's like
What?
all the time they're standing around, yeah, all the time.
Do you think that's directly
So,
related to the pandemic?
them not wanting to go into the garden.
No, just the increase in sex work going on.
No, no. I've been here, like I said, over 25 years, and that's always been a big problem. Always. The Lisbon is a street that has a lot of traffic, and that's mostly where they stand. But they drive through the neighborhood to find places to perform their acts.
Oh, I see. So they're not standing for customers. They're
No, no. The Pocket Park is, we find a lot of condoms. You know, clothes, and sometimes I'm like, did somebody get hurt here and left their clothes, or you just never know.
and this pocket
So,
park is so far in. It's so far
yeah,
inside.
right. Yeah. But it's
Yeah, no,
beautiful.
the food part it was good because Tremorel when we one week there was tomatillos and I don't know if it was in all boxes, but there was in some of them. And so Tremorel got a bunch of those, and then she went in and looked at the salsa, and then she's like, "I'm not going to buy salsa from the store anymore." It turned out so good.
Yeah. Yeah. The tomatoes were really good. All of the vegetables were delicious. They were, and they were a big help. And the excitement is that this is not store-bought stuff. This is stuff straight from, a garden. And that is awesome.
Yeah, some of them are
Kind of
from
takes you
Indiana.
back. Yeah.
Some of them are from Indiana.
Oh, okay,
Really,
right.
those
Those are
tomatoes are
really
from
good.
Indiana.
So, yeah.
Okay. All
The
right.
project was good, but like I said, a little bit more food by way of the community helping you guys. I would like to see that.
I have one last question. Did you ever get your soil tested or figure out the soil health?
No, not yet. I've been thinking about that too. I um, didn't have a lot of time here, but now that the kids are going back to school, um, do I just need to contact them?
Yeah,
And
I think I think it would be best to call that hotline. I can't remember the number, but I can email
okay,
you again if you want.
okay, I'll start there then.
Okay.
Thanks.
So thank you again, Angela. We're not going away. We'll come back again. So, and when you
Okay,
get on your nerves, just tell us to back off and go away. So, because we just keep coming back, and I know sometimes we can be irritating. So, just feel free to, sometimes, most of the times, community members are extremely polite to the students, like, "Oh God, let's just be nice." But you don't have to be. Just tell us if you're bothering you. Okay.
all right, will do. You know
Thank
me.
you so much.
We learned
All
from
right,
failure.
have a good one. Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So we just have everyone except Sherry, right? I just sent Sherry an email asking her.
Okay.